Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the channel. John Owen talks about sports and movies. Thank you for checking out today's video. I always appreciate the support. Let's get into it. So today is going to be my 2023 college football season prediction video. I understand that there were some week zero games, specifically with like USC and Notre Dame playing some other teams, but the big first kind of opening weekend is this weekend, so I figured it was about time to post my predictions. But make sure you guys leave your thoughts down in the comments below. Who do you think is going to the national championship, the Heisman, who's going to make the playoff, and all that other good stuff. Without further ado, let's get into it. So first, we're going to go conference by conference about who I think, who are some contenders, some interesting storylines, who's going to win, blah 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 blah. So I think that FSU, Florida State, is kind of the popular pick right now to win the ACC, and I think they've got a very good team. Jordan Travis is excellent. Jared Verse on the edge is very good. Mike Norvell's definitely turned it around. And I think Florida State's got a really, really talented team. I am concerned, though, that they could potentially leave September 2-2 because they open with LSU and they have to go at Clemson in their ACC opener or their second game in the ACC. So I'm really concerned that they'll leave September kind of out of the CFP race. Not necessarily out of a chance of winning the ACC, but just getting into the college football playoff. No team has ever gotten in with 2 losses, and I don't think this will be the year that happens either. It definitely will occur whenever we get to whenever the playoff expands naturally. But for the time being, I just have a lot of concerns about Florida State potentially knocking themselves out of the playoff race before October even rolls around. I think they're very talented, and I give them completely wrong. I see a world where they beat LSU and Clemson, and they're 4-0, and they rickroll, the rest of the conference. But it is something to kind of keep in mind if you're trending highly on Florida State. I think Drake May is probably going to be the best individual player in the conference. He's kind of projected to be the number 2 overall pick right now behind Caleb Williams. I think in any other draft class, he would be the clear-cut number 1 overall pick. It's just Caleb Williams is really, really good. I don't think North Carolina will be just like super-duper great around him, but they should be competitive, especially with him at quarterback. I think we're going to see Clemson potentially get back to kind of where they were. We're starting to at least. Cade Klubnik seems to be an upgrade over DJ Ugalungle. Sorry if I said that wrong. They got Garrett Riley from TCU, so they've got a new offensive coordinator. And Dabo Sweeney's still really good. He's still a great coach. A little weird, but a great coach. And they've got a great roster. They've got a great defense. They've got Will Shipley at running back. And so I think that it's kind of a 2-man race between Clemson and FSU. To win the ACC, and because that game is in Death Valley, I am going to take the Clemson Tigers to win the ACC this year. Okay, next, the Big 12. So a lot of really interesting storylines in the Big 12. Obviously 4 new teams are coming in. BYU, Cincinnati, Houston, and UCF. This is the last year OU and UT will be in the league. And then next year, Colorado, Arizona, Arizona State, and Utah will all be joining the league. So it's a really interesting time for the Big 12 conference right now. They capitalized on the TV deal. I kind of talked about that in my Colorado video I talked about, a few weeks ago. And so I think it's a really great time to be a Big 12 fan. I'm a big Big 12 fan. I go to Texas Tech, and so I'm really partial to this conference. I watch pretty much every Big 12 game I can. But as far as the actual teams on the field, so I think that the top 4 contenders this year are OU, UT, K-State, and Texas Tech. And that's not biased. That's legitimate. I really do think Tech is going to be really, really good. I think Tech will be able to build off of the year that we had last year, winning 8 games, beating OU and UT and Ole Miss. A really, really great year under Joey McGuire, who I literally love. Every single time that man speaks, I want to run through a wall. It's just incredible. The energy is great. As long as Tyler Shuck stays healthy, he's 8-1, but he's only played in 8 games over the past 2 or 9 games over the past 2 years. So health will be a concern for him. But as long as he stays healthy, we've got some great weapons. Zach Kittley's a great offensive coordinator. As long as we're not running QB power with Tyler Shuck, I think we're going to be okay. But I really do think Tech is going to have a really, really solid year. If you want to check out my specific predictions for Texas Tech, I've got a video on my channel, and I'll make sure to put a card on it above. K-State, I think, is going to be a good, solid football team again. They won the Big 12 last year. They got Will Howard, who came in and played great at the end of the year. They are returning, I think they're returning like 21 of 22 starters or 20 or 22, something like that. Of course, replacing Deuce Vaughn is huge, but they've got so many starters coming back. I mean, just a ridiculous amount of starters coming back. So that team's coming back pretty much the same team. And K State's always super solid, so they're going to be a really really hard team to beat in the Big 12. And honestly, I think they could win the Big 12. As far as OU and UT, this is their last year in the conference, and before they move to the SEC. Excuse me. I really think, funny enough, this is the year that UT puts it together. And as much as it pains me to say that, I really think that last year they were super young. All of their losses were one possession. Um, they're another year older. Quinn Ewers will probably stay healthier. He'll be a better decision maker. I really, conversely, funny enough, think this is the year that UT finally puts it together and wins the Big 12 for the first time in um my teenage to young adult life, and I think they're going to go ahead and win the conference. Moving on to the SEC, so the best conference in the nation by far. The three big dogs, I think they're pretty clearly ahead of the pack as LSU, Alabama, and Georgia. I think all three of them have very legitimate playoff hopes. Truly, I think there's a scenario in which all three of them, make the playoff in some capacity. I don't think that all three of them would all make it, but two out of the three, absolutely. Obviously Georgia is back to back. Oh, well, spoiler alert. I'm picking Georgia to win the SEC. Even though they lost Stetson Bennett or reloading on defense, they've got the best roster. They're gonna have the best roster in the nation probably. They're the defending back to back champs. I'm not gonna not pick them to win the SEC until someone actually takes them down. And that's just facts. They've also got Brock Bowers, who's like a generational type offensive weapon at his position. Um, and so I think it's pretty clear that they're going to go ahead and just probably win. But LSU and Alabama out west. Alabama's biggest question mark is quarterback. Who's it going to be? Is it going to be Joe Milroe, Tyler Buchner, or Will Simpson? I think Will Simpson's got the highest ceiling out of all of them, but he is a true freshman. Jalen Milroe did not play great in the two games he had to play in. He didn't. I mean, they don't feel very confident after spring ball, so they had to bring Tyler Buchner. I don't know how to say his last name. Over from Notre Dame. So they got a lot of questions at quarterback, but it's Alabama. It's Nick Saban. They're gonna have a really, really great team. And I think LSU can be really, really, really good this year. They won 10 games last year under Brian Kelly's first year. Jaden Daniels and the rest of the team is going to be another year older, another year better. They got to the SEC championship game last year. They were able to move the ball against Georgia. So I think that they're going to be a really great team, and I think that them opening it at 5 in most of the polls makes a lot of sense to me. 5 to 6, I definitely think they're definitely a top 7 or 8 team in the nation, and I could definitely see them pushing them for a playoff spot. Some other wrestling teams to look out for. Tennessee, can they kind of repeat their success from last year and potentially build on it? With Joe Milton, the quarterback, KJ Jefferson came back to Arkansas, so he's an absolute monster. And then Ole Miss, can they kind of bounce back after their mega collapse from last year? And can A&M actually all put it together with new offensive coordinator Bobby Petrino, because Jimbo Fisher's not calling plays anymore? I don't know. It's the best conference of football. Every team outside of Vanderbilt and Missouri is going to be really competitive and really good and really fun to watch. But I am going to pick Georgia to go ahead and win the conference. Over in the Big Ten, I think there's kind of like a 3-man race in the Big Ten East. I think whoever wins the Big Ten East will win the conference. Michigan, Ohio State, and Penn State are all in there, or all in that one division. Regardless of positional value, Ohio State probably has the best player in the entire nation in Marvin Harrison Jr. If we're taking out positional value, I would probably put him second or third between Caleb Williams 1, and then either him or Drake May at 2 or 3. Truly, legitimately. And then they've got a Meek. Oh, I don't know how to say the other guy's name, but another very great complimentary receiver who's super productive. I mean, just putting up monster numbers as well as alongside Marvin Harrison. They're gonna have a great offensive line, a great running game. They still got Ryan Day. They're going to be a force to reckon with regardless of who is at quarterback. I think this is probably Jim Harbaugh's best roster and team ever, potentially. Potentially, like relative to the competition level. Obviously, like his best 49er team would line up and smoke his Michigan team, this Michigan team, like, I don't know, probably 70-0. But I think this is his best roster he's probably had. Definitely on the college level. Um, JJ McCaffrey, Blake Cornum, Will Johnson. They almost have all their big returning pieces from last year coming back, and they're just another year older. I know I keep saying that, but this is really important. This is a really important factor. And I think if someone who's not Alabama, Georgia, or Ohio State's going to win the chip, I think this is going to be the year because they're all three reloading at quarterback. And I really think Michigan should be should be almost co-favorites with Georgia. We're giving Georgia the benefit of the doubt because they are going to be super stacked and really great, and they are back-to-back champions. So I can't be like Michigan should be the outright favorite because that would be disrespectful. But I think Michigan's right there with them as far as being favorites. And I think this year Penn State's going to be really, really, really good. I think the difference is having Drew Aller at quarterback. A big 6'5", strong arm guy, way different than what they've kind of had with some other quarterbacks with Sean Clifford and Trace McSorley. I think they're going to be able to have some great play action with that great running game they have with the 1-2 combo they have with Nick Singletary and the other names are blanking. I'm blanking on names today. I apologize. But I really think Penn State's going to be really good. And I really think Penn State splits between Michigan and Ohio State. They're gonna have to win one of those if they want to if they even want to win the Big Ten potentially and get to the college football playoff. They're gonna have to split one because last year they went 10-2, and their only losses were to or 11-2, and their only losses were to Michigan and Ohio State. But I think this is the year that they could split. I think they're more apt to beat Ohio State than Michigan. Just because I think Ohio State is a little worse than Michigan, but also Penn State's more built to beat Michigan or to beat Ohio State. Excuse me. And then over in the Big Ten West, I really think Iowa's going to come out on top. But overall, I think Michigan is going to go ahead and win the Big Ten. Last of the conference I'm going to talk about today is the Pac-12. I honestly think this is going to be a super competitive conference. And it's probably last year of existence. There's a lot of great quarterback play. There's a lot of great coaching. USC was a game away from winning it. Utah's won back-to-back Pac-12 championships. Michael Penix at Washington put together a great season last year and is looking to build off of that. Bo Nix played college football forever. And so I think that Oregon's going to be really good too, even if they are rebuilding on the offensive line. Oregon State had a good team last year. I think DJ Uiagalelei will find a way to bounce back. I truly believe he will. And then, you got Coach Prime at Colorado. We're just going to ignore the low boundary, just pretend it's not there. You got Coach Prime at Colorado. And, he's looking to rebuild and, kind of reload the bus before they make the move to the Big 12 next year. I think it's going to be super competitive, and I wish the Pac-12 hadn't, because they always schedule for parity and not, like winning. And so, I mean, all the Pac-12 schedules are just brutal, and so I think they'll kind of cannibalize themselves, almost potentially, maybe. But I am going to go with USC. They've got the best player in the nation. They've got the best coach in the conference. They're going to be better on defense. I watched Zachariah Branch play on Saturday, and I think he's going to be an absolute monster for Lincoln Riley and Caleb Williams to just wreak havoc on the rest of this conference. And I think this is the year that they finally just go ahead and win the Pac-12. Just because they got the best quarterback, the best coach, and they were a game away last year. If Caleb Williams doesn't get hurt in that Pac-12 title game, they go ahead and win. And so I'm going to go ahead and take the Trojans to claim potentially the last Pac-12 title ever. Okay, so Heisman hopefuls, I think Caleb Williams should be the clear-cut favorite to go ahead and repeat. He's an absolute monster. He plays in Lincoln Riley's offense. He's going to put up monster stats. They're going to win a lot of games. He's a generational quarterback prospect. Seems like a pretty easy formula for winning the Heisman to me. But I think Marvin Harrison Jr.'s got the best chance of a non-quarterback to win. I just think that he's going to be so monstrous and so productive, and Ohio State's going to win a lot of games. He's going to put up like some Devontae Smith type numbers, but I think he's totally capable of doing that because I think he's more talented than Devontae Smith, who's a monster and a beast. But Michael Penix, I would say dark horse, totally, no question. I really think he's going to be really fantastic. He's going to be super productive, put up a lot of numbers. They're going to be good. Jaden Daniels, Jaden McCaffrey, Blake Cornum, Drake May, Quinn Ewers, Brock Bowers are also some people I could see being in the Heisman conversation, especially if they are as productive and as good as they can be. But I do think Caleb Williams is going to go ahead and repeat and be the second player ever to win 2 Heismans. Okay, the CFP favorites, they're kind of the big 4 in college football right now: Georgia, Michigan, Ohio State, and Alabama. Even with Alabama's kind of concerns and struggles last year, it's still Alabama. It's still Nick Saban. They're super talented. They're going to be great on defense. They've got explosive athletes. They're going to have to be better at receiver and quarterback, but they're going to be able to run the ball. And so I really do think that Alabama is still, they've got the best coach ever. And so I really don't think we should count them out. So I really think you cannot be like, I think it's arrogant and ignorant to just count Alabama out. And I've already kind of talked about the other teams, kind of their strengths and stuff, but Michigan has got a great team. Jim Harbaugh, I think the other day he was like, I want to have 20 guys drafted off this team, which would be ludicrous, but I don't think it's crazy to say that. As not crazy as it can be. Just keep that in mind. And so I think that these guys are all the favorites to make the college football playoff, and then some other hopefuls. I'd say LSU, USC, Michigan, or not Michigan, Washington, Penn State, Clemson, UT, Tennessee, and FSU. So as far as who I actually think is going to make the playoff, before I swap to that slide, I want to say that yes, it would be super easy to just put Georgia, Alabama, Michigan, and Ohio State, but I wanted to be a little, different and a hot take. And I really do think there's a world. This is probably an unlikely college football playoff, but I think there's a world where these are the 4 teams. I don't see a world in which the playoff is just 2 Big Ten teams and 2 SEC teams. I just don't see that happening. I just don't. And so I think this is what it's going to be. I think, like I said earlier, Penn State is going to split between Michigan and Ohio State. That might result in them winning the Big Ten. That might result in them just like sneaking in as like a non-conference champion. We've seen that before, so that's not unprecedented. And I feel like USC was, a half away from making the playoff last year, and they're going to be better on defense and potentially even more explosive on offense. So I don't really see why they wouldn't make the playoff. I know they have a really brutal schedule, but I really think they're just going to buck up and make it work. If this is how it worked out, I would pick Michigan over Penn State, and I would pick Georgia over Michigan for an absolutely brutal, stacked, tough national championship game. But I just have a little more faith in Michigan to go ahead and win. I don't think Georgia is good enough to quarterback the three-peat potentially. And so I think Michigan's going to go ahead and climb the national title for this year. Thank you for watching today's video. I always appreciate the support. Make sure you guys check out the link content above. Leave your predictions down in the comments below. What do you think is going to happen this year? What are you the most excited for? And all that fun stuff. And I just thank and appreciate all of you. Thanks.